So there's a lot of this that has been going on recently. Let me show everybody. Floyd protesters in England pull down statue of British slave trader Edward Colston. So it's not just in the U.S. It's not just in England. You also have statues of King Leopold II. He oversaw the brutal colonization and exploitation of the Congo. His statue was either defaced or pulled down in Belgium. I don't know which. There's been so many of these stories. And then, of course, you had protesters deface the statue of Confederate General William Carter Wickham in Monroe Park. So a lot of these statues of questionable figures are being pulled down, not just in the U.S., but around the world. And again, remember, this was all sparked from the killing of George Floyd. And now those officers have been arrested and charged, and Keith Ellison is in control of the case, which of course is a very positive development, and we might actually see justice as a result of that. But what's interesting is you even see some instances, and we covered this on the last show, of they're saying, let's actually vote to pull down these statues. So it's not just, there are instances of people just doing it, right? But there's a lot of, like in Virginia, they decided we're going to pull down a Robert E. Lee statue. Like they voted on that and agreed to it. And so this is, I mean, obviously I think this is a positive thing in terms of, yeah, you don't want, if somebody's main so-called accomplishment was being a brutal, oppressive authoritarian or dictator or Confederate general or slave owner or slave trader or whatever it is. Yeah, I totally get that's not somebody who you want to venerate. And especially if you have people who are taxpayers who are minorities and they're paying to a government that this is what they put up as some sort of model citizen or some sort of thing to aspire to, and it's just, it makes no sense. It's 2020 and we're still like, having some sort of weird hero worship via statues and monuments for some of the people who we know historically were dead wrong about stuff. So like, I get it. They should pull it down for sure. Here's what I want to caution everybody about though. The first thing that the establishment will concede on is the symbolism. And we need to be cognizant of that, because if in their mind, if they think, oh, the way that we could stop the protests and the riots and all this stuff, if all we have to do is pull down these goofy statues and monuments, sign me up. Because symbolism is the easy thing to cave on, because nothing hinges on it. So, in other words, if they could use this as a distraction from actual substantive police reform, for example. Now, again, I want to be clear. I'm not saying I disagree with pulling down the statues. No, I totally agree with it. Pull them down, for sure. But that's not enough. And that's the point. The point is, unless and until you get those Campaign Zero reforms, there's no victory. Unless and until you end the drug war, there's no victory. Unless and until you do the police law, which charges every officer in the vicinity with the crime of the most psychopathic cop who commits the worst crime. So in other words, if one commits murder and there's two standing by and they don't do anything, they're also guilty of murder. Until you get a law like that, there's no victory. So I just want to caution everybody, because the thing that I'm seeing, which is really creepy and weird in some ways, is like there's now been these protests, these demonstrations where white people are washing the feet of black people. And it's supposed to be this like mass like forgiveness ritual type thing. And it does kind of seem like a religious ritual in a way, where it's like, the white guilt is being poured out by all these white people. Like, let me wash your feet. I'm so sorry. My people have been so racist for so long. It's so terrible. Yes. Oh. And as Benjamin Dixon said, white people, I don't need you to wash my feet. I can wash my own feet. Just don't be racist and let's fix the police. like that's the point. Like, let's do that. So I totally agree with Ben Dixon. I think the white guilt ritual things are kind of weird, and in that instance, it is a total diversion where, like, if this is going to substitute for real action, then no, throw this out the window. It's really sad and it's really weird and nothing hinges on that and it's strange. Let's do something substantive. So in other words, I don't want people to get sidetracked and, you know, kind of like ruin the moment by not getting the tangible changes that we need. And I fear that so many people are susceptible to it, of like the symbolism becoming the main point. Like, oh, the main point was to pull down the statue. No, there's a lot more that needs to be done to get racial justice in this country and to get economic justice as well. So there's a lot that needs to be done. It's not just pull down a statue. That's good, but we need more. It's not like nobody woke up one day and said, let's have them do a mass protest because we want white people to wash our feet. No. Like it's a weird ritual you're doing and it seems kind of religious and you probably shouldn't do it. Like, let's actually fight towards policy, substantive reform that would fix the country. So anyway, don't get lost on the battlefield of symbolism because nothing hinges on that. And that's why they're always the first things that the authorities cave on. Is because if nothing hinges on it, sure, give that away. Who cares? It's the second you go for their power and the second you go to really change stuff, you'll meet resistance. And so you want to meet that resistance in a way because it means you're getting somewhere.